right. So I'm joined here tonight by Stacey. Stacey is the conservator guardian for her aunt. And her aunt had a house out here in Overgaard, Arizona, and Stacey lives back in Pennsylvania. So you were dealing with a lot of stuff from a couple thousand miles away. And we had the opportunity to come in and help you out with that situation. So we just want to talk with you a little bit about your experience working with you through that. So first off, can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, like where you live and what you do for a living?
So I'm born and raised in Pennsylvania. I've lived here my whole life. Actually had an opportunity to live in Arizona. That was for about 6 months. Loved it. So I'm definitely a fan of Arizona and the weather, except for the summertime. But I work in the student loan industry, and I've been doing that over 15 years. It's a little scary right now, but yeah, we're working through it.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so this was a first for me. I've been executor for my father's estate. Being conservator and guardian has its own challenges, coupled with the the burden of selling the house and across the country. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
thankful
I
that we
understand. And I know when we first started chatting, like I'm a Pennsylvania native myself, so we were able to connect there. Spent 29 years of my life out there, so a lot of good memories back there. But how were you first introduced to our company, Mountain Shamrock Properties?
So this is a bit of a story. And I think it's the most important part of my story. You mentioned my aunt has or had a home in Heber Overgaard, and that's a really small town. Even if you try to like look at a map, it's not even on the map.
Yeah.
So she owned a house there, and the end of August, I got some phone calls, same day, from two different law enforcement agencies. She was confused. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know how she got there, in her car. And the last phone call I got, they said that she was on the side of the road near Sedona. Again, confused, didn't know how she got there. They called I don't know if it was the fire department or the EMTs. They asked their questions. They were satisfied with their answers. So they did not bring her into the hospital. There's nothing they could do. And there's nothing that the trooper could do. But I had talked to him because I had called the crisis line in the past, to see what the options were, because we knew something was going on with my aunt. Um, so she ran out of gas. That's how he got involved. He called the crisis line. They took her to the hospital, and that's where we were able to get her evaluated. So she was diagnosed with dementia, um, pretty pretty significant, and so that turned into needing to find placement for her.
Right.
The hospital's calling me every day. She was estranged from her family. So there's like nobody in Arizona to help her. I was her point of contact. And so they were calling me every day. There's nothing physically wrong with her. She just needs to be needs to go to an assisted living because she no longer is able to live on her own because she's just getting lost and not finding her way back. Anyway, from the hospital, social workers were calling me, and they were giving me resources, different places to call to help us place her. And that's where I landed with Care Patrol. Michelle with Care Patrol was incredible. So I explained the situation, and she recommended Shamrock, Mountain Shamrock. And so I took her advice because working with her, I trusted her. She just was a blessing. Then going through the court system, I had to appoint an attorney or the court had to appoint an attorney for my aunt. And I actually spoke with a separate attorney that, could help guide me through the process. They also recommended Mountain Shamrock. So I had two very different places hear what I was saying, which, by the way, there's a big piece of the story I'm leaving out. Her house was in very, very bad condition. It was severe hoarding. Um, I mean, it was heartbreaking that she was living like this. And then, now she can't live there anymore. And I have to sell this house somehow because I'm funding her
Right.
care and I needed money to do that. So we needed something fast, something, and I'm across the country.
Yeah.
So
Big challenge.
yeah. So that's how we came to be working on this together. So, and I'm really thankful for that. So
Yeah,
you came highly
Michelle,
recommended.
we've worked with Michelle quite a few times, and she's everything you just said. She's an amazing person, has a huge heart, really genuinely cares about her clients. And we're very similar in that respect. So that's why we refer to each other and work together, because it's a good synergy there. So yeah, you had some really big challenges to deal with, especially. I mean, it's tough even when you're here and that's going on with a family member, but to be completely across the country and have to deal with some really huge issues is even more challenging. And this is a typical scenario. This isn't unusual. Most people's kids live on average 400 or 500 miles away from where they grew up. So definitely a challenge. So one of our big goals as senior transition specialists is to make the sale of the home and dealing with all the stuff in the home. You said it was a hoarder situation. We like to call them aggressive collectors, right? But we try to make those two things as easy as possible on you, especially when you're not in town. Can you talk a little bit about how we helped you with that?
Sure. So um you were actually able to find a buyer. I think it was less than a week from listing it. So I don't know if that's the right word, but what what you actually did was um alleviate a lot of the stressors that I had with trying to figure out how I'm going to fund the cleanup, like coordinating dumpsters and cleaners and contractors to fix things and manpower from across the country. So we sold the house as is, and I was very skeptical. I didn't think we were going to be able to do it with the way it was. Like, she had no heat, she had no running water, just all the things in the house. But the even after you found the buyer, and the contract was signed, I was still able to retrieve things from the house. I flew out there a second time to not only look at the house, but also to get the permanent conservator and guardianship through the court. So I had some affairs to manage. So every day I was out there. I was out there for a week. I mean, I was just busy. So we went in and we went through the house. It was already, like, contract was already signed. And you built that into the contract that I was going to be able to, you know, have an opportunity to go in there before and during the cleanup. So I really appreciated that, because we had no idea what we were going to uncover, because
Yeah.
she's been estranged from the family and living on her own for decades. So it's like I had to piece her life back together, and it was really helpful to be able to do that, because I did find some really important things that I needed to help, piece these things together. So yeah, that cleanup, I didn't have to worry about it all, and that just gave me so much more time to focus on the other things that I needed to do,
Yep.
um, to
More
manage her.
important things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we had and I'll talk about a little bit about how we're different from realtors, but we actually had a realtor involved that went and looked at the house, and she sent me an email that I sent you with some of her comments. And I think one of them was, "This is the worst house I've ever seen. And I've been doing this for 30 years." Right. So it was no joke what you were dealing with. And to list a house like that on the MLS and try to sell it the traditional way, that would have taken months and months and months, and it may never have sold, right? Because you're dealing with a different type of buyer. And what we do, we work with a lot of investors. And I know we had this conversation that it was probably not going to be easy, but investors can look past all that. They see the potential in the house, not the current condition of it. And we were able to find somebody like that pretty quickly for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, about the realtor, because I did want to make that point. So my aunt's court appointed attorney, I had talked to him, uh, excuse me, when we were kind of at the end of, we had an interested buyer, and I just want to make sure, like, I'm doing everything right. So I spoke with him, I brought it up, and he recommended that I go, like, speak with a realtor, because I might be able to sell or get more out of the house, right? And that that really added stress to me, like my thought process, because I'm like, I'm gonna have to be there probably for closing, and I've already taken off so much time from work for this. I've already spent a lot of time, I have so many other things to do for my aunt. So we would have had to have do inspections, and probably I would have had to put a lot more money into this
Mm-hmm.
to fix the house up to a point where we would be making more money, but it would all, like, it would be a wash, because till I got dumpsters and, did all of that on my own, that burden would be on me. So this route really took that burden off of me. It was a tremendous, like, I was losing sleep over this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we call ourselves the easy button solution. And the fact is, you probably could have maybe made some more money if you did all of that work yourself, but you're not in, like, you've got way more important things to worry about. And our buyer got a $10,000 bid just to clean out the house. That's how bad it was. That would
Mm.
have fallen on you, right?
Right.
So there's pros and cons to both routes, and you just got to weigh those out. And that's why you chose the path that you did there.
Yes.
Can you talk about some times throughout this whole ordeal where we went above and beyond for you?
So there's a lot of them. One thing that I will say that was, I don't know the word for it, but that resonated with me the most, I think, was that you really heard my concerns and you provided solutions that I didn't even know existed, right? So not only that, but, like, I was so stressed with all these other things. This I really didn't think that anybody would be interested in this the way it was. Like, I thought this was going to fall on me.
Yeah.
Um but you really, like, I want to say, kind of helped center my thought process, where it was like, no, this is the process. We're going to focus on this step in the process. And if this doesn't work out, then there's this plan B. So I really appreciated that, there was a path that you provided. So, even if this wasn't successful, there was a plan B. Like I felt supported. You explained everything really clearly, and you had a lot of patience when I was asking the same questions and you had to repeat yourself. You answered all of my questions, and even the ones I didn't know I had. You gave me realistic expectations, right? Like I knew this might not work. And you let me know we're going to try this for this amount of time. If it doesn't work, then like I said, there's a plan B. And I never felt alone in this. Like I felt like no matter what, there was going to be a real solution. And I really appreciated that. I know going through the legal system, I'm going to have to be dealing with the court forever, right? Like until I don't. And so there were some concerns of mine because of the amount that we got for the house, right? Like they will need an explanation, and also for healthcare, they'll need an explanation as to why we didn't sell at market value. Well, because of the condition, because of the repairs needed, because I'm in Pennsylvania, and because this was a blessing, right? Like that, I know that this was a blessing that we got what we did for it. And I'm really happy we did. But the thing is, I just completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I don't know where I was going with that.
You were talking about the courts and the fact that you were going to be dealing with them for.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So yes, and how you went above and beyond. Thank you for bringing me back.
No
My
problem.
brain is just so what you even offered to do is when I do have to go back to court to provide like my yearly accounting and budgeting and things, you offered to be a part of that court hearing, to explain what we were dealing with, what we were battling, and why this was the amount.
Right.
So I really appreciated that, because I know like your work is done, right? But you were open to, doing that for me, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, we always say that just because the closing occurred, that doesn't mean we walk away and never see you again, because there is some stuff that kind of goes beyond that sometimes, and we're more than happy to step in and help where we need to. And I know as part of what you're talking about, we also had the realtor that saw the house weigh in on the price, because you need, like you said, you need evidence to prove that you got a fair shake on the deal, right? So yeah, that's important. I appreciate everything that you said there, because we really strive to go the extra mile for people and make them feel comfortable and make sure they understand exactly what we're going to do. And I appreciate that you said that, because that's something we really try hard, in all of our interactions with people. So what would you say you liked most about working with us?
I mean, just the relief that you brought, the ability for me to fully trust in what you were doing in the process, and that I was in good hands. And that just afforded me such an opportunity to focus on the legal stuff and managing her care, and just figuring out her whole entire life, because we knew nothing. We were starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So that was instrumental in my success in, caring for her and managing her care. So
Yeah. Everybody we work with, I always kind of use the analogy, you're standing at the bottom of this huge mountain that you have to climb. And the house and the stuff are two things in a huge list that you've got to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
But I always feel like spending time with your aunt and getting her where she needed to be and make sure she was safe and healthy, that's the most important stuff. So if we can take two of those big things off your plate so you can spend more time with your aunt, that's what it's all about for us. What would you say to somebody who was on the fence about working with us?
I think it's a really good question. I think it's really important to be on the fence. I think you should be on the fence, because going through this process, and you hear like older people get taken advantage of. So I think it's important that you're skeptical with who you're trusting this to, right? Like buying a home is one of the biggest decisions, or financial decisions in someone's life. So selling it is really important too, right? Because this is what's going to fund my aunt's care um, for a period of time. Like it's going to sustain her. So it's important that we trust and critically analyze who we're trusting, right? I was fortunate enough to have you recommended from two different places. So right off the bat, that made me feel really good. So I think it's, there's just people out there that scam and take advantage, like I said, in emergency situations. And that's what this exactly was. It was an emergency situation. But I really, I'd recommend you guys 100% to anyone, just because not only did I have these recommendations, but now I have the experience with you guys. So, I mean, there's if I ever ran into a situation like this again, I would absolutely, call you guys. If I knew anybody that I could reach that was in a situation like this, I would 100% recommend you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I wish you guys had something in Pennsylvania too. Like, it's just really, it's an amazing thing what you guys are doing, and it's like a blessing that I was put on this path that with Michelle with Care Patrol, that you guys were in this journey with me. I really truly did feel supported because at one point I felt so alone, like this, I had to tackle all this alone and
Yeah.
felt like I had a team.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming to be in your position, and to have people that you can trust along the way goes a long way for you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. One of the things I really respect about you, I could tell early on that you were very cautious, very thorough. You wanted to make sure everything was done right for your aunt. That's exactly how I would be if I was in your shoes. So I really respected where you were coming from there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So would you feel comfortable recommending us to like family and friends?
Oh yeah. There's without a doubt, for sure. So one of the things, that I feel, and I think I hit this right. Like it was just such a relief having you guys in my corner. Just like I said, being able to devote my time and energy to other things. But her attorney asked me during this process if I felt pressure from you guys to sell, and I never ever never felt pressure. If anything, I was wondering if I was, because I'm a worrier, I was wondering if you were going to quit on me. But now you let me know, like we're going to stick with this. I didn't feel pressure from you at all. The pressure that I felt were the circumstances, right? Like the distance and all of the things that we talked about. Um, but if I had to, you know, say anything, it would be that I really feel like you guys, like it's a blessing to have you guys um on the team. So I mean, I can't say enough about that.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm gonna cry. think I'm gonna cry. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, I gotta tell you, there were tears that I was shedding,
I
happy
bet.
tears.
I bet.
Yeah. When you gave me that call, I was like, after we hung up, I mean, I think I might have screamed a little and like did some air punches, but yeah,
Nice.
it was incredible. Like it was just a wonderful feeling.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish up?
Well, I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
So what got you, like, what brought you to this line of work? Like, what fulfills your heart with this line of work?
That's a great question. So we've been in our real estate business now for 6 years. And from the get-go, we were always driven by being able to help people. And as I started learning more about real estate, there's a ton of different ways that you can help people that most of us don't know about. We just think, if I'm going to buy a house, let me hire a realtor. If I'm going to sell a house, let me hire a realtor. But as you get deeper into all the different ways that you can do real estate, there's so many things you can do to help people. We didn't get into the senior transition stuff up until about 2.5 years ago. We're always out learning at events and conferences, and we're in a mastermind, and we get introduced to all these interesting people that are doing cool stuff all over the country. And this company out of St. Louis called Mom's House is basically training an army of people like us all over the country to be able to go out there and take all of our real estate knowledge and skills and apply that to seniors and their families who have to leave the home that they've lived in for 40, 50 years and do something that they don't want to do, right? And go into assisted living. And how can we come in and help alleviate a lot of the stress and the pressure that you were describing that you felt with our real estate knowledge? So once I heard what they were teaching, what they were all about, like, it was like a perfect synergy with our values and our mission and our business. I spent a lot of money going through that training, but when I came out and I started meeting people in the industry like Michelle, like you said, there are shysters out there ripping people off, but everybody I've been able to meet out here in Arizona in the senior industry, huge hearts, huge integrity, people you want to hang out with, have a beer with, whatever, right? Just really genuinely good people. So it was very quick after that, like, this is where we want to focus our time and effort in our real estate business. And ever since then, that's what we've been doing. And it's been ridiculously rewarding for us.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you're really instrumental in like helping people and like improving the quality of life,
Yeah.
just I mean, I can't say enough. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity to even share this story. I'm thankful that everything that you've done and your team, for me, my family, my aunt. So
Well, you're very welcome. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to help out, because not everybody does, right? So thank you. And thank you for doing this for us. This was an amazing testimonial, and I'm very appreciative of you.
yeah, no problem. It's the least I could do.
We were born before